Alright, so something that's been on top of my mind is how schools manage to trick us into not believing in God, or at least not even attempting to believe in God. So recently, I started reading the Bible. I started like getting a lot of contact um, with and like into spirituality stuff, like spiritual teachings and whatnot. I've been talking to some people about spirituality. I've been talking about, you know, uh, just believing in God in general, Jesus, and all that stuff. My whole life, I thought that, believing in God was stupid because, they teach us in school that, science is the answer to everything. We have the atoms, we have, general laws of physics, we have Darwin's like evolutionary theory. You know, they throw all of this stuff at us, and what's left on us to conclude? We think that religious people are just like nuts in the head, right? Why would they think like God created Earth or humans when we have Darwin's theory that explains it? Um, what schools fail to teach? To teach? No, they don't fail to teach. I believe it's part of the system. Um, they they try to pull you away from God, from ever trying to believe in it, from ever trying to find out for yourself about it. So you're spiritually weak. People that are spiritually weak are less in contact with themselves, are less in contact with nature, are less in contact with God. And what happens then? They're like empty vessels. And, you know, as a human being, you obviously know that there's good and there's bad. There's sin and there's the opposite, which is more like, so there's Satan and there's God, like the good and bad. So when you're an empty vessel, Satan takes over you. Now, I don't want to sound like too, how do you call it? Like religiously lunatic. First off, I don't think that religion is like something that you should follow. I'm I'm a little I'm not a little bit, I think I'm completely against the religion because religion in itself is man-made. And if you look at history, you'll see all the cruel things that religion made. Um, all the torture, all the persuasion, or not persuasion, but just tracking whoever doesn't follow their religion and just torturing and killing them. I believe that religion separates us as human beings. And since in school we are taught that, religion is all stupid, why would they think that Earth is the center of universe when we're just revolving around the sun? That's something that Galileo came to conclude. And you have to understand that while that's true, um, while it's true, it's you need to understand that they're talking about religion, not God in itself. The Bible has absolutely nothing to do with religion. Um, and since people associate like believing in God and stuff with the Bible and religion, like Bible and religion, they're two completely different things, but people picture them as the same thing. They refuse to read it because, it's all just a bunch of nonsense. We have real life. Why believe in something created us when we have the Big Bang and all that? Um, but a lot of this ignorance comes from people because they haven't read the Bible themselves. Uh, they believe they have this very firm opinion that they want to refuse to believe in God. That Satan and God, that's all bullshit. And they should just live real life. They have bills to pay, taxes to pay. They want to focus on studies, go to university, and blah 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 blah. But they have these opinions when they've never even read the Bible. How do I know this? Because I was one of those people too. My entire life I've been very lonely, very, I just didn't fit in with people. I struggle a lot with lust, with a lot of bad habits, and it just felt like everything was against me. I felt that God, just believing in God, was just believing in another nonsense, another bullshit. And let me tell you, only recently, when I started getting more in contact with my spiritual side, when I started reading more about the Bible, when I started taking more care of my spiritual health as well as my mental health, things started to shape, to change a lot. I am slowly beginning to realize that the Bible is not something that makes you believe that the earth is flat or whatever, like the earth is the center of the universe or whatnot. But the Bible is more of, how do you call it? I think it's how life should be lived. It's a historical book. Like, I haven't read much about the Bible. I've only seen like people talking about it, videos about it, and I've read like a couple of pages of the Bible so far. So I might not have a very like firm opinion, like a very coherent. Is that how he said? Coherent opinion, very justified opinion about the Bible. But as soon as I started getting more in contact with this like spiritual side, everything starts to make much more sense. The lust that I've been fighting for a lot of years, man. Like, ever since I was a kid, ever since I remember, I struggled a lot with it. And like only 1 year ago, I managed to quit pornography, but I still still struggle with lust. Still like touched myself. Still looked at women in ways I shouldn't. And as soon as I started talking about this to more and more people, like more people started talking to me about God, and eventually I started reading the Bible. It makes so much more sense. And it's like I no longer believe that everything is against me. That lust, like I was cursed with lust, and I can't live life happily and normally because I was born with a curse and lust and whatnot. So instead of believing in that, I now know that like people who are more spiritually connected, those who were like chosen by God, not in a sense like I'm superior to you, those who are chosen by God, they're naturally going to be more spiritual. And when you're more spiritual, you essentially just have more awareness of the things around you. I can absolutely relate to this because I've been always super, observing about everything around me. I've always been super introspective. I've always felt like, I'm just my life. I'm I'm not following the path other people are taking. I feel like my path is a very dark, a very treacherous one. I'm walking a very lonely path. But you know, I I was looking at it in a very negative way. Maybe like I'm just the only stupid one. Whereas in reality, it's part of God's plan. Um, you know, he, God, He's giving me all of this spiritual power, so I'm very aware of everything. Um, I'm very observing. I'm very introspective. Something inside of me tells me, um, like I have this very a lot of a lot of you know when you feel something is like you really shouldn't be doing something to the point where you feel just something in your gut, or it just doesn't set well in your mind when you're doing that. Just when you're just doing that, while you know you should take a different path, but at the same time the path you're supposed to take is more uncomfortable. That means you're in a spiritual battle. I think that's what's called. Um, where you're so can't put it towards. You know, if you're someone that's struggling a lot with lust and like a lot of other issues, and you know that you shouldn't be doing it, you feel a lot of shame, guilt, and you continue to do the same sin. That means you're okay. Yes, I'm getting my train of thought. That means you are more spiritually, um, you are more spiritually enlightened. That's the word I was looking for. And since you're more likely to be God's, you know, uh, God's follower, God's warrior, say, you face very deep spiritual battles with lust, with, you know, whatever bad habit you may indulge on, be it sloth, be it gluttony, be it wrath, greed, whatever. The more spiritually enlightened you are, the more battles of these you will have. Because Satan, since he wants you to sin, he wants you to be chaos in the world, he keeps giving you lust and all of these things. He keeps throwing all of these things at you because he knows you're a strong warrior. You're supposed to be God's follower. You're supposed to spread his message. And if I believe at some point, like maybe not everybody, but most people will come to the conclusion that maybe God is planning something greater for them. They just have to be aware, just have to accept it, just have to embrace it. And once that happens, everything finally makes sense. Yeah, that was something to reflect on today. I'll keep making more videos like this. 24th February 2025.